Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Elivaras, and welcome back to Total WAAAGH, the 1v1 tournament, the second 1v1 tournament for the dedicated Total War Warhammer Discord, where this is game 2 between Ondjage leading Bretonia and Pippington leading the Vampire Counts, and with me to co-commentate is Goldfish.
Hello.
So we are going to be breaking this match down for you both. I'm going to start off by taking you guys through the Vampire Counts comp, and Goldfish is going to take you through Bretonia. We're going to talk about the comps a little bit, some of the picks, and then we're going to hop right into the match. So looking from the Vampire Counts perspective, we can see 3 units of zombies with double bronze chevrons in the front, 3 units of Graveguard with great weapons behind them, a Necromancer on foot, on foot. 3 units of Fellbats in the air. We have Varix Reavers hidden in the forest here. 2 units of Blood Knights flanking the Red Duke over on the Vampire Count's right flank. And they have 2 units of Dire Wolves over on the far right flank. So what do we have over on Bretonia's side?
For Bretonia, we have a front line of Foot Squires with 2 Battle Pilgrims on the wings. Behind them, we have 3 Peasant Bowmen standard with 2 Spearman Arms with shields protecting them. In the back wings, we have 2 Questing Knights on each flank with a Grail Knight in the back. Inside of that is the Fey Enchantress, and in the middle of it all, we have a Grail Relic and 2 Paladins to provide extra morale to the peasants.
Yeah, okay, looks good. So, looking from the Vampire Count's perspective, decent choices, I would say, against Bretonia. You know, you got the Red Duke for some, single target soloing you can bring out against the Paladins, potentially, the Lords. And you've got the Blood Knights, which should be really good against a lot of Bretonian cav. But interestingly enough, Bretonia does not have a lot of cav in this matchup. They don't have the infamous Royal Pegasus Knights that so many people bring to the match nowadays. And so the Blood Knights aren't going to be as useful, but they can still do a lot of damage to the cav that is there. And if they kill the cav, they can do quite a bit of damage to the Bretonian front line. We also see the 2 units of Direwolves, an interesting pick. Pretty good against factions with some pretty unarmored and low morale archers. If you can get these Direwolves into these archers, they'll be routing very, very quickly. Fellbats a good choice as well against Bretonia, if they bring archers, of course, because Fellbats are going to be able to do quite a bit of damage to the archers who don't have much melee defense, don't have much morale, so they're going to be routing from the field pretty quickly, even though it's just Fellbats. Necromancer on foot. I think it looks like he's going for some more Raised Dead. I believe in this match he does end up having double Raised Dead between Necromancer and the Red Duke, so he's going to be spawning a lot of zombies on the battlefield. And Graveguard with great weapons, a good idea against Foot Squires who have decent amount of armor, and also against the cav if the cav end up getting put into melee. So what do you think of the Bretonian comp here? It's definitely not standard.
It's a little heavy on the peasants, which is fine. I really like the combination of Grail Knights and Questing Knights. When you blob them up together, they tend to be able to be a very, very potent combination, so that's why I assume he's going to do here. And, with the Fae, with her aura that damages things around her and heal, and Lore of Life to heal things, it makes them very, very difficult to actually deal with. I like the Peasant Bowmen because usually they're really good against some of the unarmored monsters that Vampire Counts usually bring, like, for example, Cryptors. Absent in the Vampire Counts build over on the other side of the map here, but still, Peasant Bowmen can be pretty decent in the matchup. Very difficult to protect because Raised Dead, but that's the risk that you have to take when you bring them. And what I do actually really like is that he brought a Grail Relic for the center, which is pretty standard, but on each side of the center we have 2 Paladins with nothing on them at all, no mount, no anything. Still pretty decent melee combatants, but they're also really good at just giving your peasants an extra morale boost. Unlike the Grail Relic, they have a different morale boost, so they do stack on top of each other. So it's going to make these Foot Squires to stay for a really long time.
Yeah, definitely an interesting choice bringing the Paladins. It's going to really help some of the troubles Bretonia has with low morale And it might just work out for them here. Again, a good point you brought up, being unable to protect the archers, or hard-pressed to protect Peasant Bowman because of the Raised Dead. He does have a Necromancer and the Red Duke, so it might be doubly so, but we will see how that goes. So I think
the bats and the dogs.
Yes, and the bats and the dogs. So it's going to be very hard to protect those archers, and we'll see how he manages. So let's get ready to hop into this match in 3, 2, 1, begin. And now we'll see who decides to make the opening moves. Looks like Bretonnia is going to start moving forward first.
Yeah, he wants to be able to start facing his enemy, of course. This is a little strange map, so the placements aren't going to be very lined up with each other, so they're just going to rotate and face each other right here. I also forgot to mention the Battle Pilgrims. Battle Pilgrims are amazing at killing all of the unarmored nonsense like zombies and skeletons and ghouls that the vampire counts might bring because of that frenzy ability that they have, so I really like them.
Yes, the frenzy will do absolute work to a lot of the a lot of the zombies, it looks like in this case, as they don't have much infantry actually.
Anything can do work to zombies, but anything with frenzy will do work faster, which is what he wants.
And if they happen to catch the direwolves, they'll kill the direwolves very, very quickly.
Yep, it looks like the Vampire Counts player is going to start facing the Bretonian player as well. Going to try and get a flank on the right-hand side, not on the left-hand side. There's a little bit of terrain issue with that over there.
Yeah, looks like he's looks like Pippington is bringing his whole cav force over here. Looks like he's going to try and get in position for a good flank. We'll see how he manages to pull this off. If he can get his Blood Knights into something like these Questing Knights, get a good charge, they will absolutely decimate. And we can see Bretonnia shifting their lines over to compensate for this.
Yeah, the blob that is over there, aside from the Vampire Count's front line, is what is going to make this game. Whoever wins the fight between the blob next to the Vampire Count General and whatever it sends at the Bretonians, that's going to be the favorite in the matchup. It's not going to instantly make them win, but it's going to make them very, very, very likely to win.
Yeah, Pippington invested a ton of money into this cav force. Like, this is with the Red Duke for maybe 2,000, potentially a little bit more. Blood Knights 1,700 apiece. You know, we're looking at upwards of 5,000 gold for this force right here, and Direwolves, you know, making upwards of 6,000. If he loses this engagement with his cav, oh yeah, you got Varix Reavers, so upwards of 7,000. You know, if you lose this engagement with your cav, it's going to be over for the Vampire Counts, as they don't have much of an infantry line.
Varix Reavers charging in the Questing Knights there. That's not really a super good matchup for them, but we got the Direwolves helping them out, so that's going to be a pretty decent. The Spearmen with at arms with shields are going to start screening in, though, so that's going to be a really big issue for him. We don't want Varix Reavers to be going down. They are very important. They do have regen, though, so he can afford to be a little reckless with them.
Yeah, we can see the Blood Knights deciding to charge headlong into the Spearmen. I don't know if that was necessarily a good idea. I think what he should have done anyways, instead of having both units charge in, which is even worse, I would say is, you know, charge one in the front and then maybe charge the other one around the flank and hit the Questing Knights in the rear.
Invocation of Heck going down on that big blob that I was talking about earlier. This is a very important part of the fight. Again, whoever wins this fight is going to be the really big favor in this matchup. We have Fellbats in the backline dealing with the Bretonian Bowmen, so that's pretty good for them. They're not going to have as much issue with their missile units anymore.
Yeah, looks like the other two units of Fellbats got destroyed pretty early on here, but we do have one unit that is chasing these Peasant Bowmen from the field. Cav units are doing pretty well, but they're going into extended combat with spears, not really what they want to be in. You know, you want these Varix Reavers potentially cycle charging, these Blood Knights, you know, potentially going around the flank here and trying to finish off, you know, this Cav force, but right now they're just in extended combat, and he is starting to pull them out. No,
he's pulling them back in. It looks like the Fey Enchantress is a little bit caught out there inside all these Blood Knights. Oh my goodness, she's gonna get completely destroyed here if she can't get out. That's gonna be a horrible loss for the Bretonian side.
Oh yeah, definitely a bit of a slip up here for Ondjage, as the Fey Enchantress gets caught, takes so much damage. You can see the Grail Knights charging in to try and rescue her, but after Elsif is popped, she's going to have a hard time, and if he pursues with the Red Duke, he could potentially end the game right here, as Bretonnia is not known for their leadership.
Yeah, we got the Blood Knights trying to get on that Fey Enchantress right now. She's going to take lots of damage here. She's very close to dying. Other than that, the blob in the back looks to be going in the Bretonnian's favor, though, so that's not going really good for him. Again, whoever wins that fight in the back is going to be pretty much the winner here. The front line going in the Vampire Count's favor, though that is to be expected.
Oh, man. Fey Enchantress
Looks like the Fey
somehow
Enchantress
manages
got
to
out.
pull away. That was crazy. The Fey Enchantress running towards her blob, and the Blood Knights ran right past her and allowed her to get into the blob. They tried to charge back, but didn't manage to in time. Huge mistake from Pippington there, letting her get away.
Well, thankfully, the Vampire Count player brought a lot of fast units, so I don't see any of them left. I see one bat unit that's already crumbling, so he doesn't really have anything to chase after her with anymore besides this one unit of Blood Knights. Looks like he's going to attempt to do it right here. No, he's pulling somewhere else.
But we do see Varix Reavers engaged with this Paladin. He could have easily brought Varix Reavers over. There's like 4 Vampire Counts units, 5 engaged with 1 Paladin.
Yeah, that's definitely not what you want to be doing there. The Paladin is decent in melee, but he's definitely not a super high priority target for you.
Yeah, he could have very easily pulled these Varix Reavers away and gone and finished off the Fae, but now the Fae is getting away, and he's going to have a hard time catching her now. That could be the game changer right there, not being able to finish off the Fae.
Yeah, Vampire Count's units numbers are diminishing here, and the Bretonnians, with all of this morale boosts that they have with both Paladins and the Relique and the Fae all still up, it doesn't look like they're running away anytime soon. Even the Bowmen seem to have reformed and made a nice little firing line back here to start harassing some of the horses.
Yeah, this is not looking good for Vampires, and you can see Balance Bar swinging way in the enemy's favor. Not looking good for them. Red Duke still at half health, but a lot of his forces are crumbling around him.
Yeah, this is definitely not a situation that you want to be in with Vampire Counts. You're about, if we look at the balance bar, less than half of the head count that your opponent has, which is, I mean, that pretty much spells doom for them right there. There's not much they can do to come back right now.
Especially when they started off with double the head count. You know, that's not spelling very good. We can see the Paladins at very low health, the Faes at very low health. The Grail Relic K's at very low health, but
all the Bretonnian Knights are charging into the Varix Reavers right here, right now, so they're going to be 100% dead.
Varix Reavers are they're crumbling now, but I think it's a bit of a mistake here. He's having the Red Duke derping around with this full health Paladin while, the Fae's almost at no health, the other Paladin's at no health, the Grail Relic K's at no health, but the Red Duke's over here fighting the full health Paladin.
It's very difficult to kill the Grail Relic as well. It's a very surprisingly hard to kill unit. And it doesn't really give you a huge benefit for all of the struggle that you have to do to actually get rid of it.
Yeah, essentially it's just the immune to psychology, and he doesn't have a lot of terror-causing units, or not really many left on the battlefield anyways, but we see a valiant defeat for Pippington as the Vampire Counts. As we take a look at the stats here, Battle Pilgrims doing absolute work, as Goldfish commented on earlier.
I mean, most of the peasants did work. Also, the Foot Squires, 165, 218 kills.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to those other 2 units of Fellbats. Like, the one unit was doing really well against the Archers. The other 2, maybe they got charged in preemptively, didn't hit the right target, but they didn't do anything, which is a little bit of the problem. If they had managed to get onto the other 2 Peasant Bowman units, they could have done a lot more work, routed them from the field. It looks like only one did decent there.
I do like the dogs and bats from the Vampire Counts because Bretonnians do have a tendency to rout and not completely break, so those units are really, really good at chasing off routing units, making sure they stay gone, but he just didn't. By the point in the fight where that was relevant, they just weren't there anymore. They were already dead.
Yeah, and I think a huge mistake from Pippington, early in this match, he sends almost all his cav force just head on into the enemy. He has so much cav, so much flying, he doesn't try any, flanking maneuvers. He just charges headlong into an army of spears and enemy cav he didn't even charge the Blood Knights at the enemy cav, he charged them into the spears.
Yeah, the enemy cav is definitely what you want to be fighting there. Of course, Blood Knights are going to kill peasant spearmen, but it's not the fight that you want to be having, because the Blood Knights are going to take way more damage than the spearmen are worth.
And you want to get those knights off the field as fast as possible, because that's Bretonia's strength.
Yeah, as you can see, the questing knights, 260 kills over there, and they weren't really killing zombies and skeletons like the peasants were. They were actually killing the more elite units.
Yeah, if he'd managed to get his 2 units of Blood Knights, I think, onto, the Grail Knights, for example, he could have done way more work, but instead he just charged headlong into the enemy line of spears. Now, despite that, he ended up doing really well in that cav engagement, partly thanks to the Invocation of Nehek, keeping it very early on, which was a very good choice. Pop the Invocation early before models drop, because then you get the healing. But he ended up making a huge mistake in letting the Fae get away. He charged his Blood Knights right past her at one point, and when he tried to pull back, she was already in the midst of her troops and managed to get away.
Yeah, that comes back to what I said, where I said the bats and dogs are really good at chasing down routing units. Fae Enchantress probably being the most important routing unit that you want to be able to chase off, and he just didn't have the resources to be able to catch her. If he did, the match probably would have gone a lot differently.
Yeah, I think, if Pippington had played this a little better, I think this comp against Ondjage's comp should have destroyed. Or maybe not destroyed, but should have done quite well. Sadly, a few small mistakes in the in the midst of the larger grand scale of the battle led to his defeat. As we saw at one point, 4 units fighting 1 paladin. Huge mistake there.
Yeah, paladins are pretty much, like I said, they're good in melee, but they're mostly there for morale. They're cheap morale sticks, I think, all with nothing on them. They only cost like 700 a pop, so they're really good at that, but look at their kill count. It's not like super high. Even peasants got more than them.
Yeah. They essentially, they were just doing what he does best. He's just soaking up damage there on the front line, 4 units surrounding him. We saw the Varix Reavers. The Fae Enchantress at that point was just coming back from routing. Varix Reavers, or what was left of them, was engaged with the Paladin. They could have easily been pulled off and went to finish off the Fae, but instead the Fae was left unpursued, and she managed to stay alive. And because of that, I think if the Fae had died, that could have caused enough of a morale penalty to make sure the Peasant Bowmen didn't come back to the fight and potentially started to rout some of their frontline units. But because the Fae was left alive, kind of screwed him over.
Yeah. I think that about wraps it up. It's very well played from both competitors here.
Yes, despite the mistakes we are mentioning from Pippington, Pippington is a good player. His comp was very well thought out, very good against Bretonnia. He was just a little lackluster in the execution, but his comp was definitely very good, and I bet if he played this again, he could have easily won. So yeah, Goldfish, any closing thoughts?
Nope.
No, nothing? All right. Well, Goldfish, I thank you for joining me and commentating this episode. It was a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, and we are hopefully going to see some more of Goldfish in the last of the Total WAAAGH. I know I haven't been casting much of the Total WAAAGH because with these tournaments, there's too many videos to cast, unfortunately. But the finals are going to be coming up, and they're going to be between Ondjage and Diplomat. Apologies if I'm saying Ondjage wrong. I don't know exactly how he wants to pronounce it, and I hopefully will learn it by the time it comes to cast that final battle. But I think Goldfish and I will be casting that final battle, so stay tuned for that. I would like to thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers, guys.